The Trump campaign has just dropped a brand new advertisement, and it is the full 26 minutes. Can we pull this up? There's the full 26 minutes of the Kamala Harris interview with Brett Baer. That's literally it. And then it ends with, I think I got to refresh it here. X video.
That's hilarious.
The administration did and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're rapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things.
There's more to say. I have much more to say,
there are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why we
I invite everyone
here.
to go to kamalaharris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do.
And that's why we invited you here to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
and
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
She just doesn't respond to people.
Oh, that's it. I thought they were gonna. I thought I was gonna say I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message.
She doesn't like take into account the fact that another person is speaking to her. She just keeps repeating the same talking points. Like she doesn't know how to have dialogue.
Well,
Is that strange to you?
No, I mean, not from her, but it's just interesting how she keeps plowing forward. She's sitting across from she's not at a rally with a bunch of people with a teleprompter. She's just sitting across from this guy, and he's talking to her, and she's continuing to talk over him with her speech.
But she went into this thinking it was a hostile interview. And so after, I mean, it wasn't even that long, 26 minutes or whatever. I'm not surprised at the end she's still trying to argue that, her plans are good and she has so much to say, because it's clear what he's doing. He's like, yeah, we invited you here to talk about your stuff, but you want to talk about Trump. She's trying to make up for lost time.
Yes. Who's going to win?
Wow. Listen, I don't make predictions anymore. I think her campaign's very worried. But I can't call this one.
Trump's up in the polls. That's how the whole thing started, with Donald Trump up 2 points. A few months ago, or a month ago, he was down 2 points. Now he's up 2 points. Mm-hmm. Do polls matter, though?
This all rests on Michigan and Pennsylvania and how fair their election is going to be. I mean, just some of the stuff that came out today from the Government Accountability Project. There are 53 Michigan counties that have more than 100% voter registration, and that is from them not cleaning up their rolls. So when people die or people move away, they just don't delete the names. And we know double voting happens. I mean, it happened by the thousands in Florida in 2016. Michigan has hired Democrat poll watchers to Republican poll watchers in a 10-to-1 ratio, even though the state law requires a 1-to-1 ratio. They're not removing dead people. They're not removing illegal immigrants.
They're suing states that try to remove illegal immigrants.
They're suing states that try to clean up their voter rolls. Ohio's very red. They have a conservative Secretary of State who cleaned up the voter rolls, and Ohio found that hundreds of illegal immigrants had already voted, and thousands were registered to vote in Ohio. And so, the fact that they're not doing this in Michigan, all it takes is 10,000, 20,000 of these, and they can swing the election in both Michigan and Pennsylvania with as close as it is.
Well, the DOJ is now suing several states to stop them from trying to remove non-citizens from their voting rolls.
Yeah.
And that right there is just like a red flag.
Yep.
And then as a double red flag, the fact checkers came out and said, actually, that's false. They're not stopping them from doing that. They're just saying you can't purge voter rolls. And it's like, within 90 days. That's the argument.
Chicago is a great example. In Chicago and Cook County, they have not deleted anyone from their voter rolls due to death. No one has died in Chicago. According to the voter rolls, no one has died in Chicago for like 5 years.
And that's like the number one place where people die in this country.
Everyone dies in Chicago. Every weekend, thousands of people are getting shot.
No, you're wrong.
But they're all still voting. Still voting.
No one dies in Chicago. What are you talking about? And I know this because I see them vote every year.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like that joke where the place burns down and the guy's like, well, it's a good thing they got an insurance policy yesterday. And they're like, don't you find that odd? And he goes, what do you mean? It happens all the time. It's a Family Guy joke. So, yeah, like, what do you mean? Nobody dies in Chicago. Check the voter rolls. They vote every election.
Yeah, exactly.
And that means they're alive.
This guy was one of the first Democrats. He
He was
voted for the Republican Party the entire time he was alive, and then
he was the first person to vote for the Republican Party back in 1861.
Exactly. Now he's endorsing Kamala Harris.
He switched parties.
Did you guys see that a judge in Georgia struck down the hand counting requirement for counties? So now that's out, which I find fascinating. Like, there are going to be all of these moments. And again, I referenced this earlier. Nebraska has this new ruling that was decided by a judge that actually felons are allowed to vote despite some back and forth between the legislature and the Secretary of State.
They're going to put drop boxes in the prisons, I heard.
Well, I mean,
are you joking?
I'm not joking. Like, that's not a Babylon Bee headline.
I was like, you work for the Babylon Bee, so I don't know if this is real or not.
Felons voting is weird because, like, Maine lets everyone vote, but not all states do. It's inconsistent, and it's decided by the states. But I think these, like, last-minute state level who can vote, how they're allowed to count stuff, may actually come into play during the 24 hours that we're waiting for the results, the 48 hours the week after.
Sure.
Because especially if judges are deciding them, 2 weeks out from the election, a week out from the election, that means do all counties know these things? Do all felons know they're allowed to vote now? Are they going to sue over the fact that they weren't given a ballot? I mean, these are issues that they're creating so it can be a disputed election for as long as possible.
Exactly. And so just to everyone listening to this, if you're getting excited looking at the polls showing that Trump is ahead or seeing that he's way ahead in the betting market, you need to get out there and you need to vote like every illegal alien and dead person in this country is voting.
I heard
ensure a victory even if they cheat.
I heard a funny joke that I can't remember who said this. Who were we talking to? They said there's a bunch of guys who are like, I'm not voting, I don't care. And then someone said, for every vote you cast, you cancel one woman's vote.
I said that as a joke the other day.
Oh, you said that?
Yeah, I said that to you as a joke. I was like, you cancel a woman's vote every time you vote.
Well, there you go. Say it. Then for all the people like, I don't want to vote. It's like, okay, well then, cancel out a vote of a woman or something.
I love JD's old idea. I don't know if this was JD's idea. That it was accused to be his idea, but the idea that parents can get a vote for each of their kids.
I love that.
I
think that was
agree.
great.
I totally agree.
Until they turn 18.
Completely agree.
Parents,
if they're paying
families,
for the child themselves, if you're receiving government assistance,
They have to be married.
Right.
Yeah, have to be married.
Have to
All
be
right,
married.
boom. If you're married, I would
you have
agree.
more skin in the game. I mean, you should have more of a weight to your vote, I think. Absolutely.
Or how about you can't vote if you don't have kids?
I'd be fine with that too.
That'd be great.
Well, what are you voting on?
Yeah.
Like, we are voting for the
country.
future of this country, and it is not going to us. We are aging out. It's the young people who need to be taught, educated, and gifted the trees that we have planted so that they may bask under the beautiful shade. This is the crazy thing about everything that's going on. Nobody wants to plant trees anymore. We are a society of people who are harvesting the trees, ripping them down. Mm-hmm. And everyone's saying, like, dude, are you going to plant the tree? It's like, you want me to do the work to plant a tree? I'm not going to get to sit in the shade. And then what? Someone else shows up and cuts it down? What do I get for that? That's where we're at.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing how your mindset changes when you have kids. It took me about till kid 3 till my selfishness started to finally leak away. But I'm at the point now where everything I do is to make money that I never want to spend. Everything I do is for them, to give them a future and what sometimes appears to be a dark future, to set them up as best I can. And hopefully Kamala doesn't take away the inheritance tax or
take away the inheritance tax
or institute an inheritance tax.
I was going to say, hold on.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, they're always trying to do that, the 100% inheritance tax.
That's
insane. Disgusting. Well, and it's
communism.
It is communism. It comes from a place of pure hatred. Again, they want to destroy the family. The reality is that inheritance taxes hurt the poor and middle class more than they hurt rich people. Poor people and middle class people inherit a larger percentage of their wealth than do rich people. So, for example, if someone is raised in a really rich family, in many cases, the reason that they're going to end up being so successful can sometimes be because of an inheritance. Oftentimes, it's just nepotism. It's just knowing the right people. It's your parents having certain connection. It's them being able to afford a good education for you. And that's great. People who are wealthy should do those things for their children. However, poor people, if they get ahead, it's usually because intergenerational wealth has built up in real estate, right? You were able to get a loan to buy a house, and then you were able to build up wealth for your family. Or farmers. This is another thing that people don't consider. I mean, inheritance taxes are really, really bad for farming families. And we don't talk about this enough. The left seems to just screw with the people who make the food everywhere they come to power. It's irresistible to them to cause food shortages. But what happens is farmers, they make a pretty normal yearly salary in many cases, but their equipment and the farm that they own is worth a lot of money. And so they need to pass that on to their children, not so their children can be living a spoiled, decadent life, but so that they can continue to farm. Mm-hmm. And what happens is when you have these inheritance taxes, they have to sell off a large portion of the farm. And look, they're selling that to some massive farming conglomerate or another family, which is increasing their wealth. And now they're out of the game.
Right. And I think wealthy people are able to afford advice on how to get out of any kind of inheritance tax. They are able to set up provisions or whatever they need to pass down money or to provide money to family members that, you know, it's just not accessible on the same level to poor or middle class people. And so, you know, it's like instituting a tax that you know you won't have to abide by, but will keep the people lower than you down on the ladder.
And that's what they want, especially for the immigrants coming in. They don't want any of these immigrants to be upwardly mobile. They don't want them to make it into the middle class or the upper class. They want them to be generationally and permanently dependent, drug addicted, welfare addicted, because that's what's most useful to them.
Well, they're making a caste system.
Yeah.
And when you bring in non-citizens and try and give them jobs, but you give them temporary status and work permits, what you're saying is you can do our menial tasks. You will never have a say in how this country operates. They want to create a servant class, a serf class, and an elite class that doesn't do work. They're going to automate out the jobs. And the idea is the wealthy American elites, does not include the working class, are going to have everything they want automated, and everyone else is going to fight over the lowest level jobs and live in the gutter. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.